Breakfast wasn't included with our hotel stay, so we stopped in here for a bagel each, then made our way out of Durango. Today we're heading for Utah.
I know.
Continue on US 160 west for 65 miles.
Mesa Verde National Park entrance, 36 miles.
We're driving through Cortez, Colorado, one of the few towns down in this part of the state.
There's murals on some of the walls of the buildings.
We're driving past one of the many casinos we have come across on our trip that are run by North American Indians. As we progressed south on the highway, we were surprised to see this huge rock in the distance. This is Chimney Rock in Colorado. We pulled off the road to have a better look. And this is looking in the other direction, where we had come from.
Spectacular.
We're now very close to the point where Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona and Utah meet. There is a monument there called Four Corners Monument, but unfortunately we really don't have enough time to take a detour off our route to go and see it. Maybe another time.
Continue for 27 miles.
Thank you, honey.
We're now crossing into the 12th state on our trip, Utah.
Welcome to Utah.
Okay, thank you.
The landscape is changing as we head further into Utah. It's worth a stop for some photos.
Look over there. Look how much fun.
As we're heading for Valley of the Gods, we get our first glimpse of Monument Valley in the far distance. We've arrived at the entrance to Valley of the Gods. We're entering from the east entrance off US Highway 163. It's a dirt road all the way through and is about 27 kilometres long, but well worth the drive. There is no entrance fee, but despite this, there still doesn't seem to be a lot of people visiting it. We didn't see a whole lot of other cars as we drove through. It's time for our first stop to check out the view. haven't got too far into the park, but I'm certainly enjoying the views so far. I've heard that it's quite common for people to camp out in their RVs here, and we did see several caravans as we drove through. That's Rooster Butte on the left and Setting Hen Butte on the right. Some parts of the road are quite good and you can do a reasonable speed, but other parts are not so good, which you will see later. It's a bit tight getting past other vehicles here, but in some parts the road is even more narrow and it's rather more difficult getting past. We're getting closer to Rooster Butte and Setting Hen Butte. In the distance, we can see Monument Valley from here.
Not sure if that was a male or female.
Quite a scenic spot to camp.
Nice spot to stop, isn't it? Oh, be careful. Go over that way.
Going over that way.
Good, Richard. Wow. Look at that.
A lot of people say it's almost as good, and it's free.
Yep.
Where we have pulled over is right behind Setting Hen Butte.
Oh, it just doesn't come all the way back. Oh, okay, it's fine. Is the doggy going to be okay there? Yes. Yep, he's good.
We didn't get too much further before we got a good close-up view of Rooster Butte. Let's keep going. Time for another photo stop. There are certainly some very interesting and unusual rock formations here. The road gets a little rough in places.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
The views are getting more spectacular as we proceed further into the valley.
Quite amazing, hey?
We had to cross a dry creek bed, which had quite a lot of sand, but we made it through okay.
Bogged. Go straight over that way. Good job, honey. Good job.
Well, you were here, I wouldn't have known what to do. It's just so amazing driving so close to these huge rock formations. That's Castle Butte on the left that we're about to drive past now. The rock formation directly ahead of us is named De Gaulle and his troops.
You have arrived.
The road at this point is quite narrow,
Scary.
and there's a car coming the other way, so we decide to wait for them to come through.
It's one way.
Now time for us to go through.
Whoa, look at that. That's beautiful.
The rough ride isn't over yet.
Oh my goodness, Philip, this is terrible. Didn't even see that because you're coming down, you can't see it. Around there.
And another dry creek bed to cross over.
Oh, careful, Philly. Dry riverbed.
We're now driving past Valley of the Gods B&B, which is fairly close to the west entrance, so our journey through Valley of the Gods is almost over. But what a drive it was. It was certainly worth driving on the bumpy, rough road to get through it. This is the view towards Monument Valley.
51 south.
We're now exiting Valley of the Gods onto Highway 261. We spent just under 2 hours in Valley of the Gods. It's nice to be back on a paved road after bouncing around on a rough gravel road for a couple of hours, but it was certainly worth doing. We're driving past the turnoff to Gooseneck State Park, which I would have liked to have visited, but we didn't really have the time, so it's on to Mexican Hat Rock.
Continue on US 163 south for 1.5 miles.
Let's go check out Mexican Hat Rock.
In a quarter mile, slide left.
Time to get on our way to Monument Valley, which we're getting a glimpse of in the distance. This is Monument Valley viewpoint we're pulling into now, which is on Highway 163.
Wow.
That's Forrest Gump Point we're driving past, but I think the view is better just a little further down the road. Get a photo in the middle of the road.
Oh, okay.
I'll be doing the same. Now we're approaching the turnoff to Redlands viewpoint, which has a great view of Monument Valley.
Land's viewpoint.
In 300 feet, turn right.
Wow, look at that, eh?
Turn right.
It's open and nobody's there.
Exit the traffic circle onto Monument Valley Clinic Road.
We're now heading for Goulding's Lodge, where we'll be spending the night. But also, our tour of Monument Valley leaves from there this afternoon.
In a quarter mile.
Is this where we're staying? Oh wow. We got here early.
We've arrived at about 1:15 p.m. and our tour leaves at 3 p.m, so we have time to get lunch in the restaurant and have a look in the museum. This is the view overlooking Monument Valley from outside the restaurant. Let's check out the museum. A lot of movies were made here at Monument Valley, particularly in the 1950s and 60s, but also more recently. Okay, that's enough of the museum. I need to go check if our room is ready. Thankfully, our room is ready, so I take our bags in and quickly check out the view from our balcony. Not too bad. Now it's time for our tour of Monument Valley. This should be good. Our first stop is at a Navajo hogan, which is a traditional dwelling of the Navajo.
80 years or a lifetime, you just get well maintained, okay? So we get the logs up north towards Bear Ears National Monument, which is about a good hour and a half drive up north, or down south, but a good hour.
And just nearby is a Navajo ramada, or summer house. This is the open tour bus that we went on. We certainly got quite dusty, being in an open-air tour bus while driving through Monument Valley, with all the other tour buses driving past. We're now heading into Monument Valley. It's at about this point that we cross into Arizona from Utah. Nearly all of our tour will be in Arizona. We've arrived at the Mittens and Merrick Butte viewpoint. That's the west mitten on the left and the east mitten in the distance, and Merrick Butte on the right. It's quite a spectacular view. We've driven further into Monument Valley, and this is the Three Sisters that we've stopped to have a look at here. A little further along, and this is Camel Butte. We've arrived at John Ford Point, which provides quite a spectacular view. We're on our way again to the next site, which is Big Hogan. On the way to Big Hogan, we briefly stop for a view of Totem Pole Rock on the left. This is Big Hogan that we're viewing here.
ear goes pointed up.
An advantage of doing a tour of Monument Valley, as opposed to driving it yourself, is that the tour goes to places that the general public aren't permitted to go. Just a few minutes further along, we come to Moccasin Arch. We've moved on now to the Sun's Eye. Everyone is looking at some rock art, which I will show soon. This is the rock art that I referred to before.
I do myself too much hunting, so
We made a stop a little further down the road, and there were some cattle grazing nearby. Another 5 minutes down the road, and we're at the ear of the wind.
If you throw a rock out there or throw something, they run at you. They do like a bluff charge.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, right towards you.
Sounds as though it serves you right.
Yeah. Learn that one the hard way.
Amazing how this bush grows in that soft sand.
We've come to Artist Point viewpoint, and the view from here is quite amazing.
Like reading this. You're not climbers, John. No hiking. You're not making
Rattlesnakes and scorpions. I didn't think about watching.
This is where our journey took us today, travelling generally west. I had an early start this morning to go on a sunrise tour of Monument Valley. Fiona preferred to stay in bed longer and didn't come. The first part of the tour was spent at the viewing platform outside the Monument Valley Tribal Park Visitor Centre, which is in Arizona. We stayed there until after the sunrise, then headed into Monument Valley. The sun is about to peak over the horizon. And there it is, the sun peeking over the horizon. Such a magnificent view from up here.
Te aburres.
Everywhere you look looks beautiful in the early morning light. We're now driving down into the valley for some early morning views of the monuments. On this tour, we just visited the major scenic viewpoints, which was fine, as I had seen the other more out-of-the-way places on the tour yesterday. This tour is all about the sunrise. The last stop on the tour is John Ford Point. Before we left Goulding's Lodge, we had a quick look in the John Wayne cabin, which we had missed the previous day when we were looking around. Time to get on the road for the day and say goodbye to Monument Valley. We're now crossing into Arizona, just down the road from Goulding's Lodge, which is in Utah. Even though we went into Monument Valley in Arizona yesterday, we didn't get to see the sign. Arizona sign?
Oh, we missed it.
It's still quite a scenic drive as we head southeast through Arizona. We're still driving southeast in Arizona. Towns are very scarce in this part of the state. This is Chinle we're driving through now. Buildings on the left look like a modernised version of Navajo hogans that we saw in Monument Valley yesterday. We're now entering New Mexico, the 14th state on our journey so far.
Of immunology is natural immunity, but for 2 years it was denied.
We're now in Gallup, New Mexico, and we've just been having a look at some murals.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Destination is on the right.
Oh, look at this.
We're going to have lunch at the El Rancho Hotel, where many movie stars stayed during filming in the 1930s to the 1960s. Many movies were filmed in the area. Most of the rooms at the hotel are named after the actors who stayed there. We're leaving Gallup now on Route 66.
Your destination is on the right.
We've left Gallup, New Mexico behind and we're still driving on Route 66. That's Interstate 40 to our right.
This is the old road over here.
Yeah, it must be.
It is. Original Route 66.
Very. Oh!
As we were driving on Route 66, we noticed the traffic on Interstate 40 was backed right up and hardly moving. We thought we had made the right move to drive on Route 66 and avoid all this traffic. What we didn't realise was that Route 66 soon comes to an end and merges onto Interstate 40. Our golden run, dodging the traffic on Interstate 40, has come to an end. But at least we got a lot further down the highway than we would have if we had been on Interstate 40 the whole time. And we drove part of Route 66. Interstate 40 is the third largest interstate highway in the US, running from Wilmington, North Carolina in the east to Barstow, California in the west. We've got past the roadworks now and are continuing on Interstate 40. We're going to exit the interstate temporarily to go to Continental Divide, New Mexico, which is also where Route 66 picks up again.
Take it. 1,000 feet, turn left.
We're back on Route 66, but only just for a short distance.
Take the next left, then you will arrive at your destination.
Continental Divide right here.
Once again, we're at the Continental Divide. We also went into the Indian Village gift shop across the street, which was quite interesting. That's as much of Route 66 that we have time to drive today.
Well, they don't have much signage, do they? That's one thing about Americans.
Now it's back onto the interstate. We still have a way to go to get to Santa Fe, which is our destination for the night, so we need to use the interstate to get us there in a reasonable time. Trains around
Look at all the trouble.
We'll leave the rain behind us as we get closer to Albuquerque. We're now approaching Albuquerque, and there's a sign for the exit to Route 66. As much as I would like to get back onto the old highway, we need to keep going on Interstate 40.
Right after
We've taken a detour in Albuquerque to see a Route 66 sign that goes across the street. Unfortunately, from this direction it doesn't say Route 66, so we need to try to do a U-turn. Having done the U-turn, it's quite difficult to see the Route 66 sign with the sun almost directly behind it. Let's pull over so I can get out and take a photo. With the tree blocking the sun, we can get a slightly better view of the sign. We're leaving Albuquerque and heading for Santa Fe. Quite a tangle of overpasses here, but that's nothing compared to what you see in Dallas. Now we're heading north on Interstate 25, also known as the Pan American Freeway. Interstate 25 runs primarily north-south and stretches from Las Cruces, New Mexico, through to Buffalo, Wyoming. There's yet another casino on the right, one of the many we have seen in New Mexico. We're now approaching Santa Fe, where we will spend the night. That's the end of day 13. Today we were generally heading slightly southeast.